Hello and welcome to Pim's Political Podcast. This is the first one of the year. We're on, what are we on, the 15th of January 2025. And for some reason I keep writing 1986. But anyway, that's just one of those things as you get older. And so what we're talking about is to do with how Labour is shaping up at the moment. And to be honest, it's not terribly good. What do they start with? They started with the winter fuel allowance, getting rid of that. Well, no one would argue that millionaires need it, but most people would argue that people more on the breadline do need it. And they haven't thought it through. And that's not made them terribly popular. And that came shortly after Keir Starmer had been sort of caught taking backhanders off Lord Ali. You know, he'd got 30 odd grand's worth of goods given to him and all that sort of stuff. Which they criticised quite rightly the Tory party for doing all the backhander stuff. So that was that. And I think Angela Rayner had sort of holidays in Lord Ali's place in America, and so that didn't look very good at all. You know, the party of the people and all that sort of thing. And then they did the national insurance thing, which really does affect every single business. Reducing the start paying at 9,100 to 5,000, which really does bring a lot of people into it. And if they say they're not affecting the working people, well, of course they are, and I don't have to explain that to you. So that was another seriously odd move, especially when they gave the rail people 15%, I think it was, for rise, and some of them are on sort of 60 odd thousand a year, and there was no sort of conditions attached. They just gave it, sort of bribed the unions, I suppose. So that was that. And then they did, and then more recent, I mean, they putting VAT on school fees looks like hit the rich, which it doesn't, of course, because people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, or the people they hate, they've got the extra 20% in their sock drawer, haven't they? I mean, goodness sake. And so really it affects the people who've striven to send their kids to private school. And they say that the money raised, which they can't work out because they don't know how many children are going to leave private school to go to the state, more teachers. Well, they won't get that. But it's January now, and I think this comes in now. Again, they haven't sort of thought it through. Plus the fact that I believe that Eton have got, I might be wrong on this, but I think they can claim VAT that they've paid out on buildings. I think they've got, so is it 4 million quid or something? It might be more than that, due to come back to them because they can claim input tax that they've paid out on capital projects. And so they'll get that back, and then hopefully, from their point of view, the Tories will get back in, reverse it, and everything will go on a normal, and they'll be perfectly okay, because no one's really going to whinge at the price at Eton. I don't think, those sort of people aren't, 20% not going to mean that much to them. So it hasn't really helped. And then, of course, they've gone and put Peter Mandelson, of all people, as the American envoy. Now, Peter Mandelson, who's been very critical of Trump, as have we all, but we're not American envoys. He's a stranger. I don't know why they brought him back in. I mean, he was sacked twice from the government. I mean, I think one of the times was less clear than the other times. He's friendly with odd people. There's a picture of him knocking about with old Epstein and all that sort of thing. Well, he's not a man that you want around, really. But of course, a lot of this is reliant on the Tories being so appalling when they were in. I mean, not least Liz Truss, who has sent a cease and desist letter, I believe, to Keir Starmer, a cease and desist letter because he said that she crashed the economy and it might ruin her reputation. Oh dear. I'm sure David Cameron said it about Gordon Brown, and Gordon Brown didn't send out a cease and desist letter, but then I think he's probably thicker skinned than, well, definitely than Liz Truss, because her reputation, I mean, honestly, if Liz Truss didn't exist, there would be no reason to invent her. Anyway, she can go off and write her books or whatever, and I should keep her head down if I were you. But the reason I'm talking about all this is the odds. So the next election, which won't be till 2028 or 9, it's about evens on who will win the most seats. But the interesting thing is that Nigel Farage is 9-2 to be the next Tory leader. And I think Labour are a little bit worried about reform at the moment because they're sort of creeping up. Next Prime Minister is down 7-2. And Kemi Badenoch is 6-1. This is next Prime Minister. So, I mean, I know the bookies don't mind what happens particularly. This is from Paddy Power. I've got most of the stuff from. I got banned from Betfair. I'll tell you about that later. It's quite funny. So anyway, so the odds. I mean, you have to be careful because there's a long way to go yet, and there's a lot of cock-ups to be made. They're very fortunate that the Tories are so useless at the moment, but if they linked up with reform, then they might get somewhere. So it's really a game between Labour Conservatives and reform, which everyone's very worried about. But these things happen when you cock everything up, and then it's between them and the Liberal Democrats. I mean, they're quite harmless. They arse about with Ed Davey. That's all they tend to do. So anyway, I'll keep you informed on what's going on and any more scandals or anything like that, because it's all extremely interesting at the moment. Thank you.